Some 46 million roasted turkeys are expected to grace American dining room tables this holiday season. But for the rest of the year, our interactions with turkeys are usually a little more like this.
As soon as they see me in the car, they say, "Oh, we're coming to get you." Hey, get away from my car.
All right, well, wild turkeys like these were nearly extinct a century ago, but they're so prevalent today they can be found in every Massachusetts county and even have become a nuisance. So what's behind the wild turkey renaissance? Here with me with the foul lowdown is WGBH science editor Heather Goldstone. Welcome.
Good to be here.
All right, so what's the difference, first of all, between a wild turkey and a feral turkey? Are they the same?
Well, a feral turkey, I guess, would be a domesticated farm turkey that's just kind of gotten loose. The wild turkeys,
like that one, maybe.
Yeah, the wild turkeys are actually different.
A breed, yeah.
They're a different strain, a different breed of turkey. You know, we've heard a lot, I think, about how stupid turkeys are, and I talked to one scientist who does conservation and management for turkeys, and he said wild turkeys are really a very different beast. They're not stupid, they're wary, they're wily, and I guess some of the ones we're seeing around here are maybe not so wary, but they're certainly seem a lot smarter than their domesticated
They don't really
cousins.
fly, but they can jump up on swings.
They can fly a little bit. They're
trees.
better at walking than they are at flying, but they can fly enough to get up into a tree to roost. And I had a few that wandered into my backyard on Cape Cod last year and actually decided that the top of the kids' swing set was a nice place to roost for the afternoon. So they can certainly, get themselves up in the air a little bit, but they're not great flyers.
All right, so a lot of cities and towns have been complaining that these things have become a huge nuisance. We have some pictures of a bunch of wild turkeys in Cambridge, Harvard Square, and then there's another shot, Kendall Square, rather. I mean, it's a nuisance, but are they protected? Or are they?
They're not no, they're not protected. It's not like they're an endangered species. They were almost extinct by 100 or so years ago. They were essentially extinct, and in Massachusetts they were gone. Combination of hunting and of habitat loss, because typically what they like for habitat is woods or those areas, kind of mixed vegetation right at the edges of woods. And that habitat, obviously, as we've turned everything into either suburbs and cities or farming land, those wooded areas have gone away. But over the past 75 years across the country, there have been efforts to reintroduce wild turkeys. We now have wild turkeys in all of the states in the lower 48, and as you said, in every county in Massachusetts. And really in Massachusetts, it took off in the 70s when a few were introduced in the Berkshires that took hold, and then from there they kind of moved them from that area into other parts of the state, and they've taken hold.
In Staten Island this summer, there was a big brouhaha. So many wild turkeys, they rounded them up. I guess they would gather on this, some public health or mental facility or something like that. And there were so many of them, they rounded them up and slaughtered them. And it was like, dozens of them. And I guess they wanted to do it again. And then they were giving the carcasses to food pantries. So they're edible?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I have not had the chance to taste one myself, but those who have eaten them say they taste great. They're a leaner bird. They don't have the enormous breasts of the ones that are farm raised and fed the higher fat diet. And you can see that from the pictures that they don't look quite the same. Mm-hmm. They've got more dark meat because they get more exercise. I mean, they can cover sometimes 20 miles while feeding. They usually have a range of several square miles. So yeah, they get a lot of exercise. They're a leaner bird, but absolutely they're edible, and there are tens of thousands of people across the country who hunt for wild turkey.
Okay, so why would people do away with them? I mean, they're aggressive, but they're not really dangerous. Why would they round them up and kill them?
Well, I guess it depends on how much of a nuisance they are being. If some of them are being aggressive, it kind of depends on what you consider a nuisance. The ones around
geese.
I've certainly had geese be more aggressive to me than I've personally had turkeys be aggressive. On the Cape, they just seem to have become kind of a way of life. You occasionally have to wait for them crossing the road. They're occasionally a source of amusement in the backyard. We actually had one. I love the fact that actually the official term for a group of turkeys is actually a gang. Yeah. So we had a gang of turkeys.
Is that a gaggle?
I think that's the geese. But they actually there was a peacock. That nobody really knows where the peacock came from. I guess somebody had it as a pet and released it or something. The closest it could find for buddies was a gang of turkeys. And so for a while there was a peacock roaming with a gang of turkeys on Cape Cod.
Did you know that Benjamin Franklin didn't appreciate the fact that the bald eagle was the national bird? He wanted to make it a turkey. He said, bald eagles are lazy. They don't
he called them lazy and cowardly. He really was not happy about the eagle. And he didn't have entirely great things to say about the turkey. He had better things to say about the turkey, but he also called them a little silly and a little vain. So not necessarily the best national emblem. But they are, did you know this? They are actually the state game bird of Massachusetts.
Well, that's a good thing. You can hunt them. All right. Heather Goldstone, thank you so much.
My pleasure.